everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today I am going to rank the Fallout 4 companions. I'm not going to include Ada, Old Longfellow, or Gage because I just don't have a strong enough opinion of any of them. I'm also not going to include Dogmeat because he's a dog and would obviously be number 1. I'm not going to mention weapons or armor or anything like that either, because I like to make myself as overpowered as possible, so ultimately, doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get on with it. Number 12. And this one is Codsworth. Just because when I think of him, it's just an image of him floating in a blank white space, so quite literally, no thoughts, head empty. I would have simply not included him, but he's introduced so early in the base game that I couldn't exclude him. Number 11, and no, it's not Preston. Number 11 is Strong. I feel like they went, oh, we should probably have a mutant companion, and Strong was the last-minute result. The whole milk of human kindness bit was a huge missed opportunity, along with the FEV cure. Everything about Strong is a missed opportunity. Because I like making myself OP, his perk is pretty much meaningless to me. Also, I completely forget he exists regularly. Number 10. For very personal reasons, I don't do well with characters who could be interpreted as glorifying drug abuse, which is why Hancock is so low on the list. I'm not going to go more into that, so this is going to be shorter than others, but it doesn't help that his perk is awful as well. I mean, you need 250 points, I think, of radiation poisoning. And I usually make endurance my stat, so in the beginning and middle of the game, I'd be dead. Number 9 is Carrie. Okay, having Carrie this low seems like it contradicts my first video, but I have a reason. She is an example of the born sexy yesterday trope, and I despise that trope. If you don't know what that trope is, basically a non-human winds up in a pretty woman's body, and her innocence is sexualized. Usually they are highly, highly intelligent in other ways, like Carrie is for science, but are completely out of it when it comes to social cues. Now, some people might be going, but you like Meryl, and Meryl's similar to that. There's a difference. In Dragon Age 2, Meryl's innocence is over-dramatized by Varric, like Sebastian's piousness is and Fenris's brooding. She may not get every joke, but Meryl does know what it means when someone is staring at her ass. Unlike Carrie, and that's not an exaggeration, that is an actual conversation with Carrie. Not only that, but her quest doesn't allow you to explore the moral implications of what happens at all. At least not for Carrie specifically, only the synth she ends up replacing, in quotes. At least her perk is kind of decent. Fully healing once a day is always nice, especially when you are 10% health. Number 8 is Deacon, and that's because I don't really have any strong feelings about him. He's amusing, and while predictable, his twist does make sense, and is better than him actually being a synth, because that would have been so easy to guess. He has some really great quotes about trust propaganda and other things in that realm, but the issue is just his vibe. Something about him just makes me deeply uneasy, and I'm not even remotely sneaky, so his perk has no use for me. Number 7 is Piper. Unlike Deacon, she doesn't make me uncomfortable. As an idea, she's great. A reporter wanting to get the truth out there is always a pretty strong character idea, or well, it usually is. The thing is, Piper doesn't always publish the most truthful stories, and while that could have been an interesting storyline to explore, and it could have led to a personal quest for her, it gets ignored and she's treated as an unquestioned hero. Other than that, I do like the rest of her character, and I do think she can be pretty funny too. Her perk isn't the best, but by far not the worst. More XP is always welcomed. Number 6, and it's X6. Again, he feels like an afterthought. I feel like he was added in because they realized they needed, or at least there should be, an Institute companion. He feels like an afterthought, even though I just said that. Stupid script, I know. I will admit, though, despite that, he's not poorly written. He's consistent. He is what a courser should be. I understand that others feel like you should be able to convince him to leave the Institute, but I think it makes more sense that he doesn't want to. And not only that, but we got a courser who left back in Fallout 3. I can't remember his name. I'll probably have it pop up on the screen, but it's the main guard in Rivet City, if you didn't know. And sorry for spoilers. It's not a main quest, though, so at least there's that. Anyway, the biggest reason that I don't like X6 has nothing to do with him being poorly or well written. It's just I don't like actively cruel characters. You know, the ones that revel in making others hurt just for the fun of it and not because they have some deep issues like some of the other characters have. Also, his perk is absolutely horrible. Just saying. Number 5. And what? Preston is this high on the list? Yes, he is. Preston's biggest issue is his programming. The way the Radiant quests work with him is incredibly glitchy. What should have happened is they should have only had him give you those quests before getting Radio Freedom up and working. Once that is done, all the quests should have come from the radio, or you could have gone and spoken to the guy who runs it. I'm fairly certain he's essential too. Anyway, back to Preston. He is a great representation of both survivor's guilt and suicidal depression. What a lot of people don't realize about the latter, I apologize, is that it's not always actively trying to harm yourself like the more popular examples. Oftentimes, it's things like not watching out for cars when you cross the road, or not putting any effort into yourself remaining healthy. Can be you giving up in the hope that it kills you. He confesses to the player at his highest affinity that when the raiders were attacking in Concord, right before you show up, that's where his head was. He was hoping that the raiders would kill him, and thanks to the player, he has hope again, and he can see the joy in life again. While I'm no expert, I can confirm this is actually relatively accurate thanks to my own experiences. And before anyone asks, I'm fine now. I do wish they had given him a personal quest involving taking Quincy back from the Raiders, because I feel like that would have given his character the much needed boost. He also has one of the best perks in-game. Being outnumbered 3-1 is something that happens all the time. And not only that, but a 20% damage boost plus 20 points damage resistance? Ooh, wow. Number 4. Okay, so I was debating who should go here, Kate or Dance. I landed on Dance because they didn't finish his character arc, and he's mean to people because they are part of a specific group, while Kate's just kind of a bitch to everyone. Anyway, back to Dance. I wish they had finished his character arc. Going from the quintessential Brotherhood soldier to a man trying to better himself because he was forced to could have been great, but they didn't do that. They just stopped and left him full of self-hatred with no way to start to get past it. There is a mod that restores the original ending and also allows you to conscript him into the Minutemen, which is my personal headcanon for him because he does like the Minutemen. He just thinks the Brotherhood is overall better. But I think being part of a group that accepts everyone would really help him. And oh, how I wish that had been an option in the base game. Anyway, at least his perk is arguably one of the best ones in the game. It's between him and Preston. 20% damage against all ghouls, synths, and mutants is very, very helpful. Number 3. This one is Kate. I don't think many people would put her so high on the list, but she deserves to be this high. She's really the only character who goes through a full and complete character arc. The fact that they actually changed how she reacts to the player taking chems is sadly impressive for Bethesda. I love the conversation about her parents. She's able to recognize that they were horrible, horrible people, but when it comes to their deaths, she feels conflicted. It doesn't matter what the player says to her about it, she always questions their answer. And she's deeply conflicted about whether it was murder or justice, no matter what. I also love how she tries to act tough about everything, but there are certain things that do get to her, like seeing the destroyed nursery at Trinity. I have no idea what her perk does, and at this point, I am too afraid to ask. All I know is that it's not the worst one. Number 2, and please don't kill me for putting Nick at number 2 and not number 1. I don't know what I could really say, because everyone loves Nick. He's arguably one of Steven Russell's best performances, and while that first part of his personal quest is an absolute pain in the ass, his speech at the end always brings me to tears. And don't get me started on how he is introduced. There's all this mystery surrounding him, and you hear that perfect Noir voice, and bam! Glowing eyes, and he's a Gen 2 synth. Kind of. He's technically more like a Gen 2.5. He fits perfectly into the game. Not only that, but he can hack terminals for you, and I'd rather not have to do that than pick locks. Sorry, Kate. However, no one can be perfect. His perk is pretty damn useless. Especially since I'm fairly certain the highest level, don't quote me on this, the highest level of the hacker perk makes his personal perk completely useless. So, number 1. And if you needed evidence that this was based on vibes, here you go. I love McCready. Sure, he's not perfect, but he's funny, and that matters more to me. Also, if you watched the Sebastian video, you know that I like potential, and oh boy, does his mess of a personal quest offer some. That being said, I love the changes they made to him in the game. Like, they took the complaints of him cursing too much in Fallout 3 and made it so that he never curses and actively tries very hard not to. Yes, it sucks that his character arc isn't in-game, but what happens between the games is pretty amazing. Also, did I mention that I think he's funny? Because I do. His comments make playing the game so much better, and ultimately, that's the point of the companions. And also, in my personal opinion, other than Boone in Fallout New Vegas, he's the only somewhat well done version of the dead wife trope that, for whatever reason, Bethesda loves to do for Fallout. And it's purely because he's the only one that ends up as a single father. Anyway, finally, his perk is also pretty great. Not as good as Preston's or Dance's, but it's still the third best in my opinion. Though it would be the absolute best had they not changed that percentage to what it used to be. Basically, if you have never played Fallout and you're only watching because it's me, thank you by the way, VATS is like an auto-aim thing, and it adds 20% to headshots. They misplaced the decimal at first, so when the game first came out, it was an added 2000%. Doesn't get better than that. That's all for now. I have no idea what's coming next as of writing this, but I do know it's coming. Yes, Sunday. This should be going up on a Thursday, hopefully. Sadly, playthroughs have to wait until I get an actual PC, as OBS does not want to cooperate with me. So I need 2 monitors for anything that's not in something like a browser, like the ranking video, because that was on the tier list website. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a lovely day or night. Bye!